So, here's Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Emerald. Both of these I've had for a long time. Emerald came from a friend at the flea market, and I can't remember where this trashed Ruby came from. They both had the same issue in the past. Clock-based events wouldn't work even with a new battery. I'm going to try new batteries one more time. I've already removed the screws from both of these just so the boards are easier to take out. Using my multimeter here, I'm going to test for continuity, just to make sure that these solder pads are tracing out to where they should. I'm also going to use the multimeter to test the battery in DC 20 volt mode. If you've got 3 or more volts, you've got a good battery. I fidget around until I feel like the battery's placed just right. This usually takes a little while. I've got a little bit of solder on the tip just to tack the terminals down. Doesn't take too much, just as long as they're in place and not moving around. Should have used flux. Here is some flux. Really shouldn't be soldering without it. Really helps with the wetting. Makes life much easier. See how easy this goes. Little retouch and we're all good. Time to do the same thing to the negative terminal. Flux. If it's a little bit messy, just touch it up. While adding solder, I'm repositioning the battery terminal here, just to make sure that everything's placed nicely. Now I've just got to add solder and touch everything up until I think it looks pretty enough. And I'm happy now. Flux always gets everywhere. I just clean it up with rubbing alcohol and it dries pretty quick. I typically clean residual flux off of the board too, even though it's no clean flux. I just like for things to be nice. Rubbing alcohol typically does the trick for this. I'll also dry it with a piece of shop towel, but off camera I'll also typically hit it with an air compressor. That really helps just dry off all the alcohol and knock out any extra flux that would have been anywhere. Just to be certain, I'm going to test the battery while it's in circuit now. Perfect. More continuity tests. Making sure everything's fine in circuit. This should work. Continuity's fine. Battery's fine. Can you spot the ghost in the machine? Unfortunately, this is what I was expecting. Replacing the battery doesn't resolve the issue. Just to cover my bases with the save data, I'm going to hold up, select, and B at the title screen here. We'll bring up a menu that's going to allow me to erase the save data. Still the same problem. For me, this Pokemon Emerald is a lost cause. Time to give Pokemon Ruby a go. Here's the continuity tests. And the battery test. Hey, I remembered to flux first this time. And tend these pads with a little bit of solder. Every battery requires an overabundance of fidgeting. It is important to make sure that you've got everything lined up right. Got a little bit of solder on my tip just to tack it down. And tacking down the positive terminal. You can't oppose it. That's just how it goes, yeah. You've got to flux and flow with it. You've got to flux and flow with it. Sometimes these joints can be a little bit of a pain. Just retouch as necessary. Doesn't even really require a lot of pressure. Sometimes the joints aren't a pain at all. Have a look at this. First try, absolutely wonderful. Clean up. Dry up. Clean up your work area too. Even use rubbing alcohol on the back of the board if you see any residual flux. Hitting with an air compressor is going to help after this too. In-circuit battery test. Good. In-circuit continuity test. Good. And good. Again, the battery charge looks to be fine. Continuity test pass. What do you think's going to happen? If you thought failure, you're absolutely correct. Congratulations. I'm holding up, select, and B at the title screen here with Ruby to reset the data. Ruby is also a lost cause. This seems to be something that can happen with Gen 3 Pokemon games. Replacing the clock battery just doesn't work. I'm still posting this video to show that sometimes things just don't go right. It's okay to take a breather, do what you need to do and rebalance yourself. Learn something from the experience. My takeaway? If you're in a place like a flea market where you can't test things, remember that as the buyer, you take risks. I'll toss these on eBay. Hopefully somebody who's more capable than me can do something with them. Thanks for sitting through this one. If you liked the video, let me know in the comments and subscribe. I'll have more videos coming in the nearest future. Thanks. Okay, bye.